Hey guys, don't forget, Ice-T and the Hippogriff episodes can be listened to on the go using the Anchor app or Anchor website on any mobile device or computer. Just type Ice-T and the Hippogriff in the search bar. You can also get notifications to catch Ice-T and the Hippogriff recordings live on twitch.tv by following our Twitch channel. Find it at twitch.tv/IceTKirby. Enjoy the show.
People like to get worked up about things, and that's just not our style. So, to save you guys a call to the authorities, take a listen to this. The opinions and ideas you hear are those of the hosts, their guests, and their callers, and not those of the companies, sponsors, or advertisers for this podcast. And with that said, enjoy the show.
Welcome back, everybody, to Ice-T and the Hippogriff. Today is a lovely Thursday evening on April 23rd, 2020. My name is Jesse, and I am also known as Ice-T Kirby on all of my social media platforms. And with me is my wonderful co-host, Miss Victoria, a.k.a. known as Do the Hippogriff. She is here with me right now. Say hello, Victoria.
Hi, everybody. How you doing?
Very awesome. Today, we actually have a very, very special guest, and I don't want to jump the gun here and ruin the surprise. So before we get to her, let me just say this. You can catch our recordings live on twitch.tv/IceTKirby every Thursday now. We are not doing it on Saturdays anymore. It'll be on Thursday nights at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And you can also catch our actual episodes, our audio recordings of this episode on the following Tuesdays. So whenever we go live on Twitch on Thursday, you can find the episode on the Tuesday after. And that is on many platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, and all that fun stuff. I hope everyone's doing well, and we're excited. We're going to jump into it here. We're just going to get ready and go and just do it. As I mentioned, we have a special guest today. She is a wonderful cosplayer, a stunning model, and everyone's loving dad, according to her Instagram. And she's also my hairstylist. She does my hair almost monthly. And most importantly, she is a great friend. Please give a warm welcome to Lizzie Darling.
Hi.
Lizzie Darling is here. Yes, give her a wonderful round of applause here. I'll even add one in for you guys. Lizzie Darling's here.
It's so special.
Yes. Lizzie, how are you doing today?
Today is a pretty good day. I had some brownies earlier, so that's a good time. Not like not like those kind of brownies, but just like they had walnuts.
Oh yeah,
good
no.
for you. I mean,
no,
brownies are always a great time.
That's great. I think we actually talked about this before, before today. Are you working now or no?
No, I am out of work right now. The only thing that I am doing right now is I am doing Patreon, and that's pretty much the only thing that I've got going on right now, income-wise.
Gotcha. Okay, because I remember you said you were working at the other location that we don't normally go to.
Yeah, the Oviedo location. Yeah. I was there for like a day and a half, and that was it. Before they got closed down too, with the whole state lockdown, all salons are closed, and when we open up again, it's going to be full of restrictions.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. Have you, and this isn't even an interview question. This is just me asking. What have you, other than your Patreon, have you been doing anything, or are you just kind of potatoing?
I mean, yeah, pretty much just potatoing. Like I had enough savings up. I mean, here and there, if people do come to me asking, like, "Hey, I really need my haircut" or something, like, I'll do it. But at the same time, like, I don't want to practice outside the salon because technically that's illegal. So
yeah, with the whole lockdown.
Yeah, exactly.
And
exactly. Social distancing, and not only like that, but also with like licensing and regulations for the hairstylist industry.
Oh yeah, no, it's been a crazy ride. For those of you watching and listening, Lizzie is here for her interview, and we're going to ask her a bunch of cool questions. After that, though, we will be going to talk about something else in the second half. We're going to take a 5-minute break halfway through the show, and Lizzie, you're more than welcome to hang out and talk with us if you want to. If not, that's cool too. Also, and I have to ask this just because I heard the squeaky sound. Is that a doggo? Do you have a doggo there?
Yes, that is in fact a dog. I was wondering if like that was loud enough to be catching right now, and yeah, he has found his squeaky toy. So
okay.
Microphone hears everything.
Oh yeah. All right, Lizzie. Well, let's get down to the big stuff here. I'm gonna ask. Me and Victoria will probably just alternate questions and whatnot. But here we go. I've never done an interview, but here is my first question for you, and I'm just wondering, as a cosplayer, what was like your progression into that role, into becoming someone who dresses up as famous characters in anime and in shows and whatnot? Like, what was your progression for that?
I feel like this should be like a very easy to answer question, but honestly, it kind of goes all the way back to childhood for me. Because I actually started in on it because my dad actually made costumes for us when we were kids for Halloween. So like I remember some of the first costumes that we had as kids. Me and my older brother, we both had like Harry Potter full costumes because my dad made them for us.
Right.
So I mean, I guess that was kind of like dipping my toe. I didn't really get into it until about I was 17 when I started to get really into it. And at that point, it was just kind of more of like a closet cosplay. What can I throw together kind of thing. Obviously, as a teenager, I'm not working on too much money, so really it was just kind of like, hey, what can I find at Goodwill that I can like make adjustments to make this into a cosplay? And from there it kind of started with, well, I've always enjoyed sewing because I learned how to sew from my dad, and then it was like, what can I make these costumes from scratch? And that's kind of where I'm at now, is making all of these costumes.
Right. And I have to ask as a follow-up, you said you're like late, like 17 or high school is when you started to do the actual cosplay. Is that, did you discover it through school, or was it something that you went to a convention and you were inspired to do it, or what was it?
It was, so I kind of knew generally a little bit about cosplay, but it was sort of still kind of like one of those like, oh, it's super nerdy. I think the first time that I like, yeah, I know, right? The first time that I like was really like, I really want to get into this was I went to a convention. I actually went to MegaCon, and I remember I just went for a day, and it was so much fun, and all of the people that I saw and that I took photos with, they were having such a great time, and I was just kind of, I was in a closet cosplay kind of thing, so I was participating, but at the same time I wasn't like getting super heavily into it, whereas some of the people that I was meeting at this convention were, the big builds with, the space armor, or, stormtroopers that they've built from hand.
So I want to ask you like a follow-up question, because I've never really watched anime, but I'm pretty familiar with like the cosplay, and I think it's really cool that you're making your outfits. Like the little story was really nice. It goes back to your childhood. I think that's really cool. Like that's something like your dad taught you and you're bringing it through your life. So now that you're just starting to make these costumes, what sorts of materials are you using? Like what types of fabrics do you go do you use for these projects?
So that completely depends on the cosplay that I'm doing as to where I'm getting, like, what kind of fabrics I'm getting. So I am very much known at my local Joann's. I'm pretty sure all of the ladies in the sewing section know me at this point. But I also will sometimes, like, for, like, my Bowsette cosplay, I did go into, like, upholstery fabrics for the tail and some of the, like, the leather bands. I went and I got, like, a faux leather that would be used for, like, you know, upholstery rather than actual sewing, just to give it more of a texture, more of, you know, a feel to it.
Okay. What sorts of fabrics do you find are easier to work with? And I never really thought about that, like polyester or spandex, types of fabrics.
I hate working with spandex. Spandex is probably one of my absolute least favorite things to work with, just because as you're sewing, it will pull. So, like, if you're not careful with the fabric, you'll pull it and you'll pull things, and, you know, it'll get all ripply and weird, and things can go wrong very easily if you're not paying enough attention with spandex. So I definitely hate spandex. I think cotton is one of definitely my easiest to work with kind of fabrics. Like, just a very basic kind of cotton blend is super easy to work with. But usually whenever I'm doing, like, mock-ups, so sometimes when I'm sewing a project that I'm not entirely positive, like, I've never made the pattern before and I have to try and tailor it to myself, I will make what's called a mock-up. Which essentially that's me making the costume out of a fabric that I'm not spending so much money on, or I'm not, you know, like, scrap fabric or something like that, or super cheap fabric, so that way I can kind of see how it's going to look on me, see how it's going to fit, see how it's going to feel, but I don't have to use the fabric that maybe costs $20 a yard.
Understand. Crafty.
Piggybacking off of Victoria's question, I'm assuming the materials also just depend on the person or the character you're trying to emulate, right?
Yes, absolutely, 100%. So that's another thing that you want to kind of think about. So, you know, for my Sailor Uranus cosplay, I wanted to go with something, you know, a little more classy, because the Sailor Scouts are technically princesses. So with that, I wanted to use a satin for the skirt rather than, you know, like, something with less shine or sheen to it. Whereas, like, with my 02 cosplay, it's kind of just like a school uniform, essentially, that she wears, but it's all just one red dress. So for that, I wanted to go with something that was very, like, practical as far as fabric. So I just went with a cotton polyester blend.
Oh, really quick. Some of our listeners are saying the doggo squeaky toy is covering up your voice. Is it possible to?
Yes, it happens big day at our premises.
Sorry, we want the people to hear so they can hear your
only have
wisdom.
room for her today.
No, completely understandable.
What? Before I even ask my next question, what kind of doggo do you have? I never knew.
I've got two, actually, and I'm still in the room with one. That is my shepherd mix named Gadget, who is an actual pure angel. And then my little demon, who is Jack Russell Rat Terrier, was the one with the squeaky toy. And
little demon. No, that's
he's
awesome.
got quite a lot of spunk to him. So
for some reason, I just never knew you had two dogs. That's crazy.
Yep.
All right, so here's another one for you. And this still revolves. This is still in the cosplay universe, but as a cosplayer, do you have a cosplayer that you look up to, like a role model, or that inspires you or motivates you, or cosplay?
So I could definitely list off a whole slew of people. I mean, whenever it comes to, like, my more of like aro cosplay, so like erotic cosplays, I'm looking more towards people like Jessica Negri.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, that's what I was gonna say. That's one of the biggest names that people know a lot of times, and stuff like that. But at the same time, I'm also looking at more of like a technical side for some of them, as far as, like, you know, like the details and stuff. So there is one Angelic Days cosplay that I follow on Instagram, who I really love all of their work, because they've got kind of all sides of the spectrum. So they've got, they've got some sexy stuff. They've got some gender bends. They've got some, actual like, different varieties of cosplays. And that's what I really want to kind of aim myself towards, is to have a lot of variety in what I cosplay, because I just want to cosplay the things I like.
Right.
And whether that be, me becoming, this anime boy, or if I am becoming a sexy Pokemon, like that's pretty much it. I just do what I want.
I feel like the passion, and the passion comes out when you get to do the stuff that you want to do.
Exactly.
I mean, even for my job and for what I've been doing in school, whenever I get to teach kids, for example, whenever I get to teach kids the lessons that I customize for myself, and it's not based off of a guide that the district wants me to do, or if it's not, it's not predetermined for me, that's when I have the most fun teaching, and that's when I feel like the passion does the work for me, versus sometimes in the district, for the school systems anyway, they kind of tell you what you have to do and how you have to do it, and that's when the passion for teaching music is a little bit lost, So I can imagine, if there was a mandate for you to make a cosplay of someone that you just don't really want to make a cosplay for, or it's a chore and it doesn't feel like it's something that you want to do, I would imagine it's like, a drag.
I would never finish that cosplay. Chances are I would start the cosplay and then I would put it aside for like the rest of the time.
Yeah. So, and I feel like a lot of people, even in the Twitch chat, and even people that might be listening in the recording, they probably feel the same thing about their passions. Like if it's a passion that or if it's something about their passion that they're not interested in, it's probably more of a chore to do. And I speak for even some of and I mentioned the Twitch chat. Some of my friends who are in the Twitch chat, they're artists, and I'm sure they'll comment on that too. But Victoria, do you have anything you want to ask about that, or do you have another?
Yeah. I have a couple other things I'd like to ask.
Sure.
Lizzie, how long does it take for you to put your costumes together? Because like I've been going to music raves since like 2016, and like I've been trying to put my own outfits together, and like honestly, like an outfit can be like 2 minutes because it's just pasties in the bottom, or the outfit could very well I was with a housemate this year who took like 5 hours to get their outfit together. Like they were gluing sequences onto their robes with the hair and the makeup and the band, so for you to get into a character, like who is your favorite character to portray, and how long would you say that takes you to get ready?
So, are we talking about just getting ready, or are we talking about like the whole costume making process? Because just like you said, sometimes it can take like 2 seconds because it's like, all right, I'm just going to buy a couple things off Amazon and they go well together and that works. Or, it can take a couple of months as far as, making like a dress per se.
Yeah. So that's, I guess that
as for getting ready, like time wise, I would say, so my favorite cosplay to do is actually, honestly, probably one of my easiest. I love being Velma. She's so much fun. People get really excited when they see her. So that's always really fun to do, and fun to have so many people kind of call you out and be like, oh, it's Velma. Like, yeah, this is a character we all love, know, and recognize. And that one's pretty easy. So, I mean, that's really just... and it's super easy too, because normally for most cosplays I have to wear contacts, but since Velma wears glasses, I just got a pair of prescription glasses in her style, so that makes it even easier for me. So I do my makeup, which maybe half hour, 45 minutes, and then I throw on the wig and the outfit and I'm good to go.
Wow. Oh wow. So like a more intricate costume, like what would be the most intricate costume you've put together?
I would say the most intricate costume I've ever put together was probably my Bowsette. I had to do, like, it started from the bottom up with that one. So I mean, it included like hoops, a hoop skirt underneath the dress. Then I had to pin the tail onto the dress, and then the shell had to be pinned to the back, and then you had to pin the brooch. I had to get the earrings on. I had to get the fake teeth glued onto my teeth, contacts, full face of makeup. I had to get the little, elf ears put on, which that takes a minute to put elf ears on, and then all of the accessories. So I would say probably for Bowsette, I would need at least an hour and a half to get ready.
That is patience.
Yeah, I mean, Bowsette is no joke. Let's just be real. I've seen the Bowsette everywhere.
Yeah.
There was definitely a Bowsette phase of the internet for a while.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's still kind of going around here and there sometimes, so it's not completely dead, but it's definitely not as internet prominent anymore.
Yeah, if you're listening to this now and you don't know who Bowsette is, I suggest you go to that Google image search and you just type in Bowsette with 2 T's, and you are in for it.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You are in for a treat. So I've been with you out at MetroCon. We went to Tampa together. I stayed with you and your whole entire Sailor Moon squad, or the Sailor Scouts, and that was an amazing time. But I have to ask, because I didn't get to see this for myself, do you have any awkward moments, funny stories, wardrobe malfunctions during a photo shoot or during a convention?
Oh, we have so many, especially with the Sailor Guardian. So for our first shoot, before we even went to the location that we shot at, which we actually shot at the Maitland Arts Center, if anybody knows where that is here in Florida, but super cool place, super pretty. I definitely recommend you go check it out once quarantine's over. But we're getting ready, and everybody is having trouble putting their fake lashes on. Me, as a cosmetologist, I can do it very easily. So
Right.
I'm just sitting on Moon's, on our Sailor Moon's toilet, and I've literally got a line of Sailor Scouts kneeling in front of me to put eyelashes on them.
Oh my gosh, that's
So
hilarious.
just one by one, they just come up and I put their eyelashes on them. And then when we got there, we actually, our Sailor Mercury broke her ankle during that shoot.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that was kind of crazy. We were all posing, and we were standing on these stones over this little like water area. So we're standing on the water on all these little stones, and she missteps, and that was it. She just busted her ankle.
Was that like a 911 call, or was that just like a we gotta get you wrapped up kind of thing?
Yeah, she thought she was fine. She was like, "It's really sore. I don't think I can keep shooting." So we were like, "Okay, no big deal. We pretty much have everything that we need from you, because we pretty much got her in every shot that we needed her in, at least. So at least it was like at the end of the shoot. I mean, not that we wouldn't have stopped in the middle of the shoot, obviously that's way more important, but like, luckily she still got all of the photos that she wanted from the shoot. But, she, a couple days later, she was like, "I feel like this is not okay." And she went in, and the doctors were like, "Yeah, no, that's actually broken." She thought it was just sprained.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you can tell when something's broken because it turns like a really, really black and blue.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's horrible. I'm so sorry that that happened. I mean,
yeah,
I guess
we've definitely got some crazy experiences.
Yeah, I mean, at least she got in all the shots that she needed to be in, so that's fortunate at least.
Yeah,
is
for that. But
damn.
You got anything else, Victoria?
We have one question in the.
Oh, in the Twitch chat?
In the chat.
Sure.
Yeah, we had one question. Our question here was who your favorite character is to be.
To be. Like I said earlier, probably would be Velma, but I also really do enjoy being Bowsette, because I feel like I have a lot of fun being Bowsette.
What kind of since you mentioned having fun as Bowsette, what kind of things make her fun? Like what do you like that in terms of acting like the character, or or what you say?
So for some people, cosplaying is just dressing up, but for me, it's kind of taking on some of the characteristics of that character. So interacting with other people as that character, as well, is kind of part of the fun for me. So I mean, when I'm Velma, I'll say jinkies a lot, or I'll pretend to lose my glasses or whatever.
Right.
But I feel like with as Bowsette, I can kind of like be like not so much malicious, but sort of like a playful sort of evil kind of.
Yeah, and what's interesting about that is Bowsette's not an actual canon Mario character. So the personality is created by the cosplayers, Like, I think that's kind of a cool concept to have a character who doesn't necessarily have predetermined personality traits,
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
It's kind of like you pick up how you imagine that this character would be from essentially all of the fan arts that are out there. So,
right.
The fan arts are depicting her as kind of like flirty, as a little bit, like almost like it's sort of like a dominant kind of, but also playful in a way. So.
Huh. Yeah, because I mean, my boring ass, I've dressed up as a pirate multiple years, which isn't even a character, not even a specific character of pirate, literally just to dress up as a pirate. So I just kind of do the generic yar kind of pirate, jargon, and it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to kind of conjure up a personality based off the like you said, the fan art that's online, and like what the character looks like, and almost give, because like you can give the character your own take on personality, while meanwhile someone else who's cosplaying Bowsette in the same convention might have their own version of that character, and to see so many variants it's cool. It's creative, and I think that's the fun of it, and I think that's the whole passion thing that we mentioned before. Like it adds to the passion and the fun of it. So that's pretty cool. One thing I want to ask, and this is because I know you as Lizzie. You're my friend. You do my hair, and you're the cosplayer that I've actually hung out with. But the one part of you I don't know much about is the whole modeling part. With your photo shoots, and I mean I see it, but we've never really talked too much about it. What is your goal in that regard in terms of modeling?
So for modeling, for me, it's really just kind of, I mean, I have a lot of fun with it. So it's just kind of a fun way to boost my confidence. But at the same time, it's kind of a good way to practice posing for, like, when I do cosplay photos, to see how things look like that. The main reason I do it most of the time is because either a photographer friend has reached out to me, and they are, I often shoot with friends who are photographers, essentially, or, photographers that have become my friends, and now I'm just kind of like their go-to person when they are trying to have something shot. And then I've got a couple of people who I actually, I get paid for modeling for them. So I do paid gigs, and then I'll do anything for like my photographer friends.
Gotcha. And the whole modeling photography thing is almost symbiotic, right? Like you have the photographer who wants you because of your look, and you get photos out of it, but they also get a resume out of it, essentially, right? Like it's kind of like these are the people that I've taken shots of. Look how amazing they look, and that kind of. What's going on?
There's two different kind of things. There's paid gigs, which if I'm working with a new photographer, or some photographers who prefer to do less of what I'm geared towards, which is more cosplay. I try to be more geared towards cosplay.
Right.
But you will notice, obviously on my Instagram, I do have other photos, just like as fashion or whatever. And for those ones, usually those are the ones that I'm getting paid for. And then there is what's called TFP, which is trade for photos or trade for a portfolio. And that is essentially that symbiotic relationship that you were just talking about between the photographer and the model, where, you know, the photographer will say, here, I'm going to give you this amount of photos from this, and you will essentially come to this session and model for me for free. But it's not for free because you're getting paid in these photos. So
right. Because I mean, I've noticed, I follow a few photographer Instagrams, for example, and one of them being a music graduate at UCF, and she does wedding stuff, but she'll use the photos she takes, obviously not a lot of photos, but single photos from each shoot, and she'll post it on her Instagram for her photography to say, like, hey, this is from this wedding I took photos for. And it's essentially, her Instagram has become a resume. You know, this is what my photos will look like potentially for you. You know what I mean? Like
exactly.
Yeah, and so I was just wondering how that worked, because I've done one photo shoot ever, and it was for my graduation, my UCF graduation, and even then it was just a friend who I know, and I just said he said, yeah, you know, it'll cost this much, and we'll do a bunch of fun photos around the campus. So, but I've never had an ongoing, consistent relationship with a photographer. So that's why I kind of asked the whole symbiosis thing, you know. And I'm just gonna plug this in here, and this isn't even for me. For those of you who are sports fans out there, I know this is like so out of whack, but the NFL draft is tonight, and I'm wearing my UCF jacket right now, and I brought up UCF, so I have to say it. Go Knights, charge on. Hopefully we get some players from UCF drafted. But anyway, symbiosis in photography and modeling is an interesting relationship that I've never really known about. So it was cool. It was a good question. I'm glad I asked that. One more thing I do want to ask. In terms of your cosplay, do you have an overall goal for that? Like, you say you're gearing your modeling towards cosplay. What is, like, where would you be on the apex of your cosplay career? Like, what would be your, where you want to be, you know? Like, where do you want to be with that?
So for that, I mean, I know a lot of people kind of are doing this, the whole cosplay thing, to try and get kind of noticed. But for me, I'm just kind of like, I'm just doing it because I enjoy doing it. It's my hobby. It's what I love doing. It's kind of like a stress relief almost for me. So, you know, I mean, I do love my job. I absolutely love being a stylist, and that's what I decided to take and make into my career. But even when you're doing something you love, you still have days that you're like, okay, I don't really love this right now. And that's when I feel like I kind of take a step away and I do the cosplay thing, which is, for me, it's almost kind of like slipping into another existence almost.
Right. And I can actually level with that, because believe it or not, this is the third episode that we've recorded of this podcast ever. And literally this podcast idea kind of came up literally 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I've always been I've always done the game streams on Twitch. I've started building towards that with a nice microphone, with a new camera for the game cam and all that. But I feel similarly. Like, I love teaching music and I love my career, and I don't think my career is going to go away. But this hobby that's come out of it, the gaming streams, the podcasts, are all things that kind of let me express things that I can't express at work. I can't really express to my coworkers, and it lets me showcase what I like to do on my downtime.
Yes.
So I kind of level with that. And I appreciate that. Now, in terms of me going full-time podcast, full-time streamer on Twitch, probably not. I don't think that would be my end game, Avengers. But it would if I were to benefit from it, whether it be just having an awesome audience to talk to and have listen to me and listen to you and all the guests that we might have, and just have something great come out of it, so be it. You know, like I will happily do extra work for this because it feels good.
Yes,
and if it, you know, and
exactly.
if it feels good, yeah. So, and if it feels good for you, I mean, that's awesome. So, Victoria,
it's a really good community too. So it's nice to be part of that community, kind of. I feel like so it kind of extends to that, to where it's not only just the me doing this by myself kind of thing. It's also I'm going to conventions and I'm meeting up with all these other people who love the same kind of stuff that I love.
Right, exactly. Victoria, do you have any other questions? If not, we can jump to the Twitch, because Twitch has a bunch of questions that we should let them ask. That way they can get them answered.
Oh, for sure. I asked everything that I would like to ask, and I just think I appreciate your explanation on like the modeling and the cosplay. That was one of my New Year's resolutions this year, was to do like 3 photo shoots, and I was able to get a couple of them out of the way before this coronavirus thing happened, because like it's something I like to do too. Like the cosplaying, and like to model. I like to do fine arts as well. And I think it's just a couple of little things I can grab from that as far as like the confidence goes, just to be in front of the camera. It's not necessarily for the money, but just for something that you love. As long as you go with it, it can grow into something else. So I appreciate that.
Well, it really is. Like, getting to ask these questions to someone who's passionate about this topic of cosplay and modeling, and being able to ask you, because quite frankly, I've never knew any of this stuff. And we've been friends for a long while now, but it is pretty cool to know how things have come and how they've developed. Before we get to the Twitch questions, I do want to ask one more thing, and I think it's a taboo question that I don't know if I should ask, but I'm going to ask anyway because it is great content. This is purely for the content. I'm just going to say 2 words, which is really just one word, I think, but it's like a compound word.
Okay.
OnlyFans?
Honestly, I can't really say too much on OnlyFans because I don't have an OnlyFans. I have Patreon, which I guess they're similar, but
Okay.
I've never used OnlyFans, so I wouldn't be able to answer any questions about OnlyFans.
Okay. I'm going to put it to rest there because I think the Patreon comment was enough.
Okay.
Just had to ask. Okay.
Yes.
Let me give you some questions from the Twitch chat here. Danjo Draws asks, what is your best and worst experience while cosplaying?
Okay. Best experience. Let me think. I think my best experience was, so before I did my most recent cosplay, my most recent Sonic cosplay, I did another Sonic cosplay that was much more tame. And I wore that to a convention, and there was this maybe 5-year-old, I want to say, who was just so excited to see Sonic that, like, he literally stayed with me the entire convention. Like, he wanted to be just right by me. So, like, I essentially just spent half of this convention with a 5-year-old, and I did not mind at all because he was just so excited and, like, so happy to just have me there. And I'm like, okay.
Oh my gosh. You got to keep the kids happy. I'm going to give a kids cheer here.
Yeah.
To all the children out there who are hanging out with Sonic, that is the most noble thing a cosplayer can do, is to give a kid what he wants. So
oh yeah,
that's awesome.
It definitely touches your heart, And then as for the worst, I mean, everybody has seen the whole cosplay not consent thing, and I feel like that's a really deep pool to kind of dip our toes in here, but I'm dipping it in a little bit here. So I had an experience where I'm actually finishing up Lady Death cosplay right now, but I've cosplayed her before in a different outfit, and essentially what Lady Death is she's a bra and panties and a big cape.
Okay.
So with that, I was at this convention, and there was a guy who would not leave me alone, and he was taking photos of me the entire time. And at one point he didn't even ask, but he was like, "Hey, you're in this one," and he like grabbed me and did like a selfie sort of style, and it was a very uncomfortable moment.
And was this someone who had at first like asked for permission kind of thing and then just didn't go away, or was it literally just?
He was literally like, he pretty much just came up and was like, "I love your Lady Death," and I was like, "Oh, thanks," and then he was like, "I'm gonna go ahead and take some photos, just be candid," and I was like, what? And pretty much me and my friends were kind of like, "Hey, let's go somewhere else," but he kind of followed us, and he ended up following us for a good bit around the dealer's room, taking photos, because anytime someone would stop to ask for a photo, he would take a photo as well. And then before he left the dealer's room, that was when he grabbed me for the selfie and was like, "Hey, you're gonna be in this one," and took a photo. And then was like, "All right, I'll see you around." And I was like, I hope I never see that man again in my life.
Oh, that's creepy.
Yeah.
Just it's consent. You're pretty much bringing to life. You're bringing to life like these fictitious characters, and like I get it, because I'm that way with the Harry Potter universe, but it doesn't really give you the right to be overly excited and step the boundaries of going to grab somebody, because like that's your safety and your security. Like you don't know who this person is, you don't know what their intentions really are, And then back to like Christina Grimmie, the American Idol singer who was like up and coming, and someone got too close, and her talent was taken away from us so viciously.
And I unfortunately I think that his behavior in all this is, for one, obviously it is completely unacceptable to do something like that without consent. And I think that says a lot about who he is as a person, and I'm sure, unfortunately, his behavior probably expands beyond conventions. If he doesn't, and that's a shame that people bring that kind of unwarranted and unacceptable behavior into a realm where people are supposed to be comfortable and supposed to feel relaxed and have a good time. And it's guys like that unfortunately ruin the experience, like for you, obviously, and probably for others,
Yeah, it's already hard enough, like, even as somebody who, like, I'm super into fitness for myself, so, I'm fairly fit and feel good about my body and whatever. Even for people who feel good about their bodies like myself, like, that's an uncomfortable thing. Like, in an outfit so small, it's hard to kind of feel comfortable in. So a lot of people won't kind of pursue those sort of cosplays just for that aspect. And then to even kind of top it off by making somebody else feel that much more uncomfortable because you can't control yourself or can't be a decent human being towards another person. It's like, it's already hard enough to get into a costume like that and to get out into public. It doesn't need to be sort of heightened by people being
Absolutely.
so rude.
Preach it, Lizzie.
Another question coming in from Danjo Draws is, what advice would you give someone who really wants to get into it? And I'm assuming he means into cosplay.
I would say figure out how far you want to get into it. Because it's completely acceptable to not get, deep into the rabbit hole. So, you don't have to take time and hand sew all of your costumes and stuff like that, like I do. Like, I'm deep in the rabbit hole. It's totally fine to just order costumes or, even do closet cosplays if you want. Cosplay is really all up to what you want to make it, and just have fun with it. Like, that's really the biggest part, is to have fun with it, because if you're not having fun with it, then that's completely missing the point.
Exactly. And I agree. One more question coming from Dando. Dando's enjoying this. He says, if this could be your platform to stand for cosplay, not consent, what would you like the public to know? What are ways that we as people who enjoy cosplay, in what ways can we be respectful and make you all feel comfortable? Like, what pet peeves and things can we not do, or what things can we do to improve your comfortability?
So I would say definitely always ask permission, whether you are taking a photo, whether you want a selfie, whether you want a hug, whether you just, anything. Just always ask consent. First, I would say definitely make sure that your cosplayer is, I guess, ready to be photographed if you are asking for a photo. So don't walk up to somebody who's eating and be like, hey, I see that you're in the middle of this slice of pizza, but can you stop eating and come take a photo with me? Like, that's just kind of rude. Don't interrupt somebody's meal. Like, you see somebody like eating a hot dog on the side, like don't come up to them and be like, hey, can I get a photo real quick? Like, if you want to hang around and wait for them to finish their hot dog, maybe, but like,
it sounds like it should be partially a common sense thing,
Yes, essentially that's kind of how it is, Yeah,
and like even if my favorite cosplayer was eating a pizza, like you said, if I were to go up to that person and say something, I'd probably say like, hey, maybe when you're done eating with your pizza, or if you have any free time, is it okay if I find you and take a photo with you? Like, is that acceptable?
Exactly, that's perfect.
Yeah.
Exactly. So really, it's just kind of like, don't treat people in cosplay if you wouldn't treat, somebody that way out of cosplay, You're not going to walk up to some random pretty straight, you see some pretty girl, you're not going to walk up to her and be like, hey, can I take a photo with you? Like, nah, you're kind of being weird here. She's having lunch with the girls. Like,
right, exactly. And I'm sure, like, just like Sky Shadex in the chat says, and I'm sure it happens, not that it's an excuse, but he says a lot of people don't use common sense when they become starstruck, or when stardom strikes, as he says.
Yes, which makes sense, but
it's
at the same time, it's like you gotta, even if you are a little starstruck, you just gotta remember that they're still people,
Exactly. Let's do one more. I have Yo Mike 92 in chat asking, how much is too much to spend on a cosplay costume if you were to buy one? Between $300 and $400, or over $300 and $400?
It depends on your budget, two, how well the costume is made, three, if you're commissioning it from an individual, or if you are buying it from like a wholesale kind of company. So that's kind of where I would say that's kind of what you want to consider when you're thinking about purchasing a cosplay. Usually if you're just gonna wear it, like maybe once or twice, and it's it's just something that you're gonna wear casually kind of thing, I would say you probably don't really want to be spending anything over $100. If you're going for something that you were like, hey, I want to, I want this done, so maybe I can like compete in it or something like that, you can have it commissioned. I know a lot of people who do commissions, and that usually runs anywhere between $150 to $300. If you're doing something like super detailed, like if you were like, hey, remember the ball gown that Sarah wore in Labyrinth, and the hairstyle that she had in that exact scene, I want you to make that. Like, that's hand stitched beading, that's that's a lot of work. So I would say you're looking for something like that, like a lot of money. You can look up to $1,000 plus.
Yeah, that's, I mean, I the whole reason why I went to pirate costume was because it's easy and cheap.
Yeah, I mean, like.
No, but if you have a passion, I'd say, like you said, but budget yourself. If you are prepared to spend X amount of money, then spend X amount of money. If you're not, then maybe find some shortcut ways or
exactly
cheaper,
ways around things.
Yeah, cheaper
alternatives.
And like you, heck, if you're running your Patreon, and I'm sure that money goes to something like your cosplay, and people support you, use that, like if like the podcast, if I see the Hippogriff and he got any donations, we would put it towards creating a better media and creating a better creation or content. So
yeah.
So, Victoria, are you good for the order?
Yeah, no, Lizzie, thank you so much. Like, thank you so much for sharing all
Yes.
that information with us. Like, you're giving me something to look forward to for my vacation.
Yes, Lizzie, thank you so much for coming. I'm going to give you a little applause here on our soundboard. It was super cool to have you come on. Like, I've never done an interview. It was a fun time. I learned a lot. I'm sure the people in the chat and people listening to the podcast have learned a lot too. And I know we'll get to the part of the episode where we're going to talk about dating and all that stuff. I know we didn't get to that, but we'll just do it next time. Let's run the outro. Lizzie, where can we find you?
So I would say that you can pretty much find everything that you need from me on Instagram. It's Lizzie Darling _. There, if you want to get the link to my Patreon, it is in my bio there. You can always DM me for any kind of cosplay questions, or if you wanted any kind of cosplay commissions. I do mostly wig commissions, but I will accept the occasional cosplay commission, depending on the character. And I mean, that's pretty much where you can find everything.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for coming, Lizzie. It was definitely a good time. I think I'm in love with asking questions now, and I definitely want to have. This has inspired me to interview and to really. This was so cool. And you're my friend, and I feel like even though you're my friend, I felt like I was talking to essentially a celebrity, a model. This is cool. Before we get out of here, thank you everyone who is in the Twitch chat for coming. If you're listening online through Anchor.fm or any of the other podcasting hosting sites, thank you for listening. I hope you learned something from Lizzie today. I definitely did. You can find us on twitch.tv/IceTKirby every Thursday night, starting at 7 p.m. Around 7 p.m. is when we do our live recordings, where you can participate and chat with us, and ask us questions and ask our guests questions. You can find our podcast on anchor.fm/IceT and the Hippogriff. That is with 2 P's and 2 F's. And you can find our channel there, as well as our episodes on many other platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Google Play Music, Spotify, and so on and so forth. Please be sure to follow, and share and or subscribe, because if you do that, it helps us grow, it helps us get monetized, and we can start getting better software, better hardware for recording the podcasts, and potentially even get better guests. But Lizzie has been the superstar among us all, and Lizzie, I hope you come back, because you were fantastic, and we loved having you here.
Thanks for popping up cherries, Lizzie.
Victoria, why don't you shout out where to find you?
Hey guys, you can find me on Instagram at Do the Hippogriff. That's 2 P's and 2 F's. Do the Hippogriff.
Awesome. And of course, you can find me. I am on Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, obviously, and all of that will be at IceTKirby. It was such a great show. We will see you all again, hopefully next week. See you all next time.